Kwesi Millington here, public speaking coach, and this tip is about what I call the 3 A's to avoid in speaking. And the 3 A's that you want to avoid are very important because you can turn your audience off if you don't watch for these things, and if you do watch for them, you'll create a connection with your audience. So the 3 A's you want to avoid are assumptions, accusations, and answering. And let me explain what I mean by that. First is assumptions. Now, we all grow up with different assumptions and stereotypes in our own lives, and the important thing when you speak is not to bring those to the stage. You want to allow your audience to find a point where they may fit in to what you're saying without making any assumptions. For instance, I gave a speech once and I actually messed up on this. I said there are 2 types of students in every classroom, and one type were the people that were teachers' pets, the A+ students, and then the other type were the slackers, the people that were just sat at the back of the class and they never paid attention. And by doing that, I automatically pigeonholed everyone in my audience into either being one type, the teacher's pet, or the second type, slacker. And that was a mistake, because at the end of the speech, I actually got some feedback from people that said, you know what about the people in the middle? What if someone falls halfway between? They're not one or the other. Those people I left out of my speech, and that was a mistake. So make sure that you're not making assumptions and you don't assume something about your audience. The way I fixed that was that I said, raise your hand if you're one of these people, raise your hand if you're another, raise your hand if you're somewhere in between. And that third question allowed everybody to be a part of my speech. So the second A to avoid is accusations. Now, in a speech, you accuse by saying presumptive statements. You know how everybody's always late. That would be a presumptive statement. Well, if people are on time or early, then you know what? You're leaving those people out. And an accusation that some people might actually make that's actually more common is, you know how everybody loves the summer? Don't say something like that, because there may be people that love winter and love the winter sports and season. So make sure that you don't make accusatory statements like that. Make sure that you ask a question, do you like the summer? Do you know anyone that likes the summer? Something that's softer that allows you not to feel like you're accusing your audience of having a certain point of view. And finally, answering. You want to avoid answering, and how many speakers answer their audiences is that they actually ask a question and then go on to the next point before allowing the audience to answer in their own minds the rhetorical question that was asked. For instance, if you ask someone, have you ever failed at something? And then you go right on to your next point, it's almost like you've answered for them by going into your own story. So give a minute to answer, to allow your audience to answer the question in their own mind. And the way you do that is simply by using a pause. When you ask a question, pause so you don't answer the question for them. So make sure you don't accuse, you don't assume, and you don't answer, and you will be well ahead of most speakers. Until next week, keep speaking, sharing, and serving.